Good morning. It's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself. And today I'm having a really bad moment. So I don't know what I'm going to say in this video, but I want to bring it to you while I'm experiencing a serious trigger, some serious emotional triggers and emotional pain. And so I thought I would bring this video to you while it's fresh, as I sort of work through it and process it so that you can see an example in action, okay? So I just finished crying. I just finished reacting. I just finished yelling and then crying, getting into an argument with my father, and I was completely emotionally, deeply triggered, okay? And this might not be a trigger for you. This wouldn't, you might be thinking, oh my God, I don't understand why she's triggered. But when you have a deep trigger, even people who do the work, do the inner work, this is an example of how it can rise quickly, and it can, the trigger and the need that you have, the hurt, the past, the past emotional trauma that hasn't been healed will rise quickly, and you react, and you become embodied, right, by these emotions like anger and sadness and grief and frustration, and it can overtake you. These emotions can just basically embody you, take over your body, and you start to react before you've even had time to stop, detach, and process, and see that these emotions aren't you and that they can pass. It's quick. I mean, I've been doing emotional work for a long time, and this was quick. It snuck up on me. Boom. I started to yell. I started to cry. I was completely emotionally triggered. And before I could, I literally had to calm down, take a breath, and realize, okay, we're not doing this. This is a pattern. This is a pattern that I can break. And this is pointing me in the direction of an emotional trauma, emotional wound that is not yet healed. So let's do the work. Let me tell you the example, and let's work through it so we can see how we're doing this in action. Okay, so I'm on a morning walk with my father, who recently, maybe less than 2 months ago now, had major heart surgery. He had a triple bypass, and he was in great health. And after the operation was over, he was in terrible health. Now, that's to be expected. There is a recovery time, but it was more than just fatigued and needing to recover. He was dizzy. He was completely not himself. His personality had changed. He couldn't walk. He was passing out. I had to call 911 several times. He just was not well, and they had him on 5 different medications. Now, I took a look at all this, and I said, Dad, look at the side effects of these medications. You need to go off them. These medications are not helping you. They're causing you these side effects. We looked at them, we don't need this. We don't need this. This is, So we went through the whole list of what he was taking, right? So anyways, we got him off several, beta blockers and different things, right? But once he went off them, his personality came back. His dizziness stopped. He was able to get his energy back. He started to walk with me. His personality, he came back to life. He started to recover. He was recovering nicely. Almost literally as soon as he went off the medication, this happened. Within days, he changed. And so his doctor pressured him, though. The one medication his doctor, he didn't want him to go off 2. He didn't want him to go off blood thinners, and he didn't want him to go off cholesterol. Anyway, so I really do not like statins. So I really see the damage of statins and the long-term side effects of statins, including memory loss, and I don't want Alzheimer's for my dad. Being the sole person who's going to be here looking after my dad, that's not what I want for myself or him. And having been through intense side effects from medication, I understand, and I can see past the fear that the doctors put into you when they suggest what the benefits are of taking the medication. They They literally only give you, they don't show you the list of side effects. They don't show you the informed consent part of it, which is all the list, right, of everything bad that could happen if you take these medications. That isn't told, and that isn't weighed in the decision, which is all I wanted to do with my dad. So we had several long conversations. I said, Dad, I support you. It's your body. You can do whatever you want, but this is what I think. This is the science from my end. They're only giving you the science from their end. Let's look at this logically. Like, if taking cholesterol pills is going to keep you here a lot longer and healthy, that's what I want for you. But let's break this down. Let's look at the numbers. The doctor, refused to even test his cholesterol, because I said, please have him test your numbers before you blindly go on the cholesterol medication. Let's find out what they are. His doctor said, no, it doesn't matter what they are. You need to go on this. You need to be on it. And I was triggered. How can that not even matter? So I forced his hand into getting that blood test. Well, this morning on my walk yesterday, he had been in contact with the doctor without me. And I guess the doctor had given him his results, which he didn't get and didn't show to me, and he had promised, yes, he made a promise to me. He said, I don't know what I'm going to decide, but I promise I will get this blood test, I will get the results, I will let you look them over, we'll have a discussion, and then I'll make a decision. So I found out on the walk this morning, he's already taking the medication. He's already had the numbers back. The doctor said they're poor. I haven't seen them. I don't know what they are. And he's already been taking it without telling me, and without me presenting what the numbers mean and talking him through, the other side of it, which is the informed consent piece, and going through the list of side effects, going through his numbers, seeing, the benefit versus the risk on this before he made the decision like he promised. And he's already been taking them. He basically said, the doctor said I'm not going to live if I don't take them, therefore I'm taking them. That's the end of it. And I literally was so triggered. Okay, now it's not just because my dad's taking the pills and he promised me he wouldn't without the discussion. That is the surface layer, right? That might make anyone upset if somebody broke a promise and went ahead, but this was deeper. I mean, I was embodied by rage, anger, grief, frustration, sadness. And why did those emotions overtake me, right? What is it pointing to? It's pointing to the fact that I have not healed my own deep emotional trauma wounds around being lied to by doctors, being abandoned by doctors, being mistreated by doctors. So on a personal level, I was all of those things. I was lied to. I was not given informed consent. I was not read the list of side effects. I was unable to say no. I was basically forced, not against my will, but pretty much forced to take the medication. I was vulnerable to their words. I put trust in doctors who I was taught, from my dad and my mom, to trust in, and that they're helpful and that they're going to help you. I put blind trust in them, and when I did, and when things went awry, I was made to feel like it was my fault. I was made to feel like they didn't believe me. I was abandoned by them, told they couldn't help me anymore. I was left basically maimed and on my own and helpless and ready to die. I mean, it was a deep emotional wound. So this is really not about my dad. As we can see, this is about me, and all the healing work that I've done surrounding this still lives inside me, and it rises to the surface when I had a trigger that was so similar and so intense, and I felt so out of control. I was reacting to my own, right? My own feelings. I was reacting to my own pain, which is that the doctors are liars, that they're going to abandon you, that they will hurt you, that they will maim you, that pharmaceuticals in general are dangerous because of what happened to me. And right, I was reacting to my own personal situation, and I was putting that onto my dad situation. I was angry because I felt like this doctor was basically scare tacting my dad into taking these. I was angry at my dad for not being able to see what I can see, but never having firsthand experience of being maimed by pharmaceuticals and being abandoned by doctors. How could he? He's only known doctors to be good and trustworthy and medications to be beneficial and helpful. So he couldn't possibly see my point of view. Yet I expected him to be able to see and understand what I see and understand. But without having gone through the journey that I've taken, how could he, right? And so my anger was also a feeling of helplessness, where I love this person and I know that I'm going to be the one to be taking care of him. And I know that the doctor doesn't love him and the doctor's not going to be taking care of him. So I also feel that it's more our decision or my decision than it is going into the hands of the doctor, because I love him and I'm going to be caring for him. I will be there all the way. My video cut out, but I'm the one who's going to be there for my father, not the doctor. And I'm the one who's going to have to watch, what may or may not happen based on this decision. So I was triggered because I didn't get a chance to look at the information and read his cholesterol numbers. I was triggered because my dad lied to me, but mostly I was triggered because I feel out of control, right? This is an issue of control. I want something my way, and this isn't my life. I can't control this. This isn't something that's in my control. So I felt like I needed to bulldoze my dad into believing what I believe. And when he didn't see it from my perspective, I got angry because of my feeling of lack of control, right? Lack of control, again, is why we carry a lot of pain inside, because we want to control everything. And when we can't control everything, we feel helpless, we feel out of control, and it's a feeling that isn't settling to us, right? One of the other reasons I felt triggered is because I watched my mother die. I watched my mother die at the hands of chemotherapy. I watched the doctors, tell us that my mom had cancer, me ask a whole bunch of questions, not even been informed. I was informed of she needed to go through the chemo, she needed to do all this stuff, and that was before I was on my health journey, so I just blindly trusted. And later, she died, and the chemotherapy was awful, and she did have stage 4 cancer. But what I didn't understand was that, and before she found out she had cancer, she was in picture perfect health, right? So she was feeling great. But then we found out she had this. She was scared into the chemotherapy. We all were. She took the chemotherapy, and within weeks, it was an awful decline over the next, 7-8 months. It was terrible. It was so hard to watch, and the amount of drugs and painkillers that she was given and morphine at the end. It was just like we were drugging her and killing her to death. It was a horrible, horrible. When I look back on that experience, I'm very triggered because I didn't know then what I know now, and I couldn't help my mom. And I wouldn't have made that choice. Could I go back now and make a different choice? I would have made a completely different choice for my mom. And what also angered me about that situation with my mom was that I wasn't even informed that the chemotherapy that they were doing on my mom was palliative, not curative. They had said, we're going to fight this. This is the best we can do. We're trying to, I thought they were trying to cure her cancer. I was naive. I didn't realize they were giving this to her just to possibly extend her life by a couple weeks, a month. I didn't know that she was going to die. No doctor, I would never have put my mom through that had I known. We wasted the last months and years of her life. It was very, very difficult to watch, and she didn't need to go through that at all. That was a money-making decision. That was a decision that they put in her based on fear that maybe she could get better, that maybe she could get cured, but it was never meant to be curative. It was only meant to be palliative, and I felt lied to. After I found out the truth, after my mother had passed away, I felt lied to. I felt lied to by people even closest to me in my own family. I have a doctor in my family who didn't tell me this information, that this chemo is just palliative, that my mom wasn't going to make it. Why were we going through the motions? I felt betrayed by my own uncle. I felt betrayed by doctors. I felt betrayed in general. And after I learned and went through my own experience of health, I really look back on that experience with fresh eyes and with different eyes, and I would have made a different decision. So when my dad told me this, it really triggered and brought up my mom's death, my lack of control, my lack of power in that whole situation, and in not being able to go back and remedy what I feel I did wrong and what we all did wrong. And I always think I can't go back and help my mom, but at least I have this knowledge now, and I want to put it to work to help my dad, because I don't want to see the same thing for him. I don't want to see this, and I feel like history is repeating itself here. And now I actually am armed with the information. I actually understand cholesterol. I understand how to read the numbers. I understand what we can do about this situation, but I'm not given the chance. I feel helpless and out of control in a different way, because before I was helpless and out of control because I didn't know, I didn't have the knowledge or the experience to be able to help my mom, and I was at the mercy of the medical system to help her for me. But now I feel I can help my dad, and I feel like the opportunity is being taken away from me. I'm going to turn around here. I feel like the opportunity is being taken away from me, and I have the information, so I even feel more helpless and more out of control because I want to help him, but I can't. Okay, so all of these things were coming up this morning when my dad says, oh, by the way, I've already been taking it for the last 3 days, and I've made the decision I'm taking it, and he didn't show me the numbers and all of this. So all of this rose to the top. Like, I was embodied by anger, frustration, grief, sadness. I started to yell at my dad. I started to accuse him I just said, like, how could you do this? I thought we had a promise. I was clearly upset. And when he said, Lisa, this is my life and I'll do whatever I want, I just broke down in tears because I have hurt, because I was abandoned, because I was lied to, because I watched my mom die, because I went through hell on my journey, and because I felt helpless, out of control, abandoned, lied to. And now I feel that I'm able to help, and I can't. So again, I felt powerless, helpless. Okay, so let's work through this, because I'm working through this. Now I'm going to take some steps to work through this. So now that you can see what the situation was, it makes sense that I was embodied by these feelings and that these triggers came up, which just means that I haven't healed my own pain, even though sometimes you think you've healed it. I haven't healed it. It's not healed because it's still an emotionally charged subject for me. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be yelling or crying. I would be simply having a discussion with my dad, like, oh, hey, Dad, I thought maybe just get those numbers, I'll look them over, But no, this was an emotionally charged topic. So I wasn't just, carrying on a conversation. There was a charge to the conversation, right? And that charge shows you that you have healing to do, that you're still charged inside, that you're carrying trauma in your cells, in your body, in your nervous system, and the patterning is strong. It's like fight or flight. It's quick. Your body reacts, your subconscious reacts before you have time to become conscious and to become aware that you're reacting, right? And so I was in reactive mode, quick. I was just reacting and going with these feelings that were coursing through my body because they're there, because I have unhealed wounds. And I was reacting to the feelings, the overwhelming feelings inside me and emotions that were coursing along, right? Instead of letting them course, working them out, breathing them out, walking them out, processing them, doing the emotional work of looking at the emotions and breaking them down and figuring out where the pain comes from, what is in me and what makes me do this. I was totally living in the unconscious in that moment. not the conscious, but quickly, within probably 10 minutes, I became aware, whoa, Lisa, you're reacting. You've got to stop now. So the first process, the first thing you need to do in that situation, and what I did, was I stopped, okay? Now, I resisted the urge to bolt immediately. I said, Dad, I gotta go keep walking. You turn around. You go home on your own. I'm gonna keep walking. I need to be alone, right? Because I wanted to run from that feeling. So I stopped, I breathed, and then I talked to my dad further. I asked him, why did he take them? I slowed down. I was not in reactive mode. I was more in curiosity mode, finding out mode, investigating mode, a less defensive posture, okay? Because I knew that bolting is not really the answer. It's staying and working through it. Now, I only got so far before I became uncomfortable and the conversation sort of ended in a spot that was neutral. But I said, I'm going to carry on with my walk. Why don't you go home? We'll talk about this later. So in a sense, I did bolt a little too quickly. I didn't bolt right off the bat. I didn't run from my overwhelming feelings immediately, but I did need a break from them. I did take a break in order to collect myself so that I can detach by the time I get back and become conscious that everything that's happening and all the feelings that are happening inside me are my feelings to own, are my feelings to heal, that I need to take responsibility for them, that this really isn't about my dad or his decision to take or not they take the medication. This is about me and my feelings and my pain and my hurts and my abandonment and my suffering and my experiences. And it's truly all about me. I'm seeing it through my own eyes and my own lenses. And what I need to do is realize that here's a man who's 73, who's lost his wife, who doesn't want to die, who loves his family, who trusts doctors, who wants to do the right thing, who wants to live, who trusts and believes in the medication and the doctor and needs and wants to believe good things and is trying his best and is sad because his daughter's always yelling at him about what to eat and what to take and what not to take, and is feeling helpless in his own right, that he doesn't really understand all this stuff. He just wants to put it in the hands of the doctors and not have to think too hard about it. And I'm messing with that for him. I'm causing him pain. I'm making him look at things he doesn't want to look at, like side effects and the potential risks of Alzheimer's and, bringing up the death of my mom and putting thoughts in his head like maybe the doctors aren't being helpful. He doesn't want to hear all that. He wants that to go away. He wants to listen to his friends or his girlfriend or somebody who understands what he's feeling, who's going to say, yeah, just listen to the doctor. The doctor's there. He's trying to help you. Go do it. Like, you're doing the right thing. He wants a pat on the back. Like, you did good at surgery. You're doing the right thing. You're listening to your doctor. You're doing everything you can do. He wants to feel like he's doing everything he can do. And he doesn't want me to continually tell him that he's failing. He's not doing a good enough job. He needs to see it from my point of view, or else he's letting me down and he's letting everybody down. He wants me to be proud of him. He wants to feel in control of his own life. And so when I look at it from his perspective, although hard and although I'm triggered, I can see just a man who also wants to live, who sees it from the different side, who wants to trust his doctor, who doesn't believe that's wrong, and who needs to believe the good in the medical system and the good in the doctors and the good in the pharmaceutical companies. He needs to believe that because that's his value system and that's what he was brought up believing. And he doesn't want to feel like everyone's out to get him, right? He doesn't want to look back at my mom's death and think what a mistake that was. He wants to believe we did everything we could. We tried our hardest. She fought a great fight. He wants to believe a different story. He does believe a different story. He feels and believes and perceives a different story. And that's what this is all about. This is our own collective stories. This is our own stories. And everybody has a different story. In their mind, in their heart, in their soul, everyone has a different story. And so I'm triggered with feeling out of control. I'm watching my dad make a decision that I don't want him to make and that I don't believe is the right decision for him. And I'm tasked with sitting by and feeling helpless and dealing with my own feelings of helplessness. I'm feeling out of control. I'm feeling grief. I feel grief over the upcoming side effects and death of my father that hasn't even happened yet. I feel a loss. I feel regret already that I wasn't able to help him. I already see my dad's funeral. I already see my dad's death. I already see me feeling regret and blaming myself because it was my fault, because I wasn't able to control or have him do it my way. So therefore, I feel all the self-blame already that I'm going to be putting on myself. The self-loathing, the self-hatred, the self-blame, the guilt, the shame, the helplessness, the out-of-control feeling. And I sense this coming in the future, and I'm desperately trying to stop it by making him see it from my point of view and make a different decision. But that's all about control, right? About my inability to just sit with my feelings of lack of control, which is really what I need to do. I need to sit and think, you are out of control, and that's okay. You cannot control the situation, and that's okay. You can give advice, but it's his decision, and that's okay, right? You can't, whether he lives, dies, whether this is good or bad for him, is out of my hands at this moment. It's in his hands, unfortunately, for me. But also, fortunately for me, I don't want to control the world. We think we want to control the world. We think we want the responsibility of helping people and keeping them alive and doing the right thing. And I want to do that for all the people in my life, my children, my husband, my father. And that's why I'm generally a controlling person, not because I believe I'm better, but because I want to help them. I feel the weight of the responsibility of things that I know on my shoulders. But nobody wants the weight of the world on their shoulders. And so it's lucky that I don't have the weight of my dad's health decision on his shoulders. I truly only have the weight of my own decisions on my shoulders. What I choose to do with my body, what I would choose to do in that situation. And that's called freedom. And if I take that away from my dad, that's not fair, right? So I have to give that back to him, but not only give it back to him, but give it back to him with honor by saying, I trust you, I love you, it's your life, and not by looking down at him or trying to make him feel guilty or him feel shame or him feel inadequate or wrong or that he's letting me down or choosing the wrong thing, right? I don't need to give him back his freedom with strings by saying, well, that's fine, you can decide whatever you want, but I think you're making the wrong decision, or just try to do the same thing the doctor did to him by saying, well, you can do whatever you want, but if you don't take my pills, basically you're gonna die. So I don't want to do that to my dad on the other side, because that's creating pressure for my dad that he doesn't need. So I can present the information, but I'm gonna have to find a way to do that in a neutral fashion, with neutrality, with detachment, and with love. Bring love to the equation and bring a sense of peace. I'm going to have to do the work now. I'm going to have to go into deep meditation and do the work and come to a sense of peace that it's lucky I don't have control over my dad's life and health, or over anybody really, because it's a lot of responsibility to have, and it puts a lot of internal pressure on me. And I have to let that go to the universe. I have to say, I've done my best. I've said my thing. I've given what I can give without bulldozing, without pushing, without forcing, without manipulating, without using guilt tactics. Just offer up what I have to give and let him leave it or take it. And I have to truly find a way to be at peace with that so that I don't guilt and shame myself And so that I don't walk around with a responsibility on my shoulders that A, has nothing to do with me, and B, I can't control, you know. And so I have to get uncomfortable and comfortable with being out of control. Yet again, it always comes back to this for me, and I suspect it does for many people, is that we have to learn that our fears, our angers, our frustrations, our sadnesses, our everything that we do to try to control situations so that we don't have to feel these terrible feelings that overwhelm us. And yeah, so anyways, that's my morning. That was my sort of walking through this with you and showing you what I'm going to have to do and how it comes back to the fact that it's my issues, it's my lack of control, and it's being at peace, it's detaching, it's letting go, and it's becoming conscious that all this is happening. And once you're conscious of it, you're halfway there. You're more than halfway there, because you can see with clearer eyes when you stop reacting and living and embodying the emotions. You can see the emotions, you can see them pass through, you can see different perspectives, you can see your own hurts, your own stories, your own pain. You can see where it's coming from, and then you can challenge it. You can do something about it. You can change how you're reacting. And you can get comfortable with the fact that it's all out of your control, and that's just the way it has to be. And once we accept this, even if we're not happy with it, once we accept that letting go is always the right thing, letting go of the responsibility, letting go of the weight, let go of the pressure and the tension that you're carrying around, right? Look back, heal those deeper wounds from the past, do the forgiveness work around those wounds, around the doctors that hurt me, around my mother's death, do the forgiveness work again, do the acceptance work again, right? Do the shame work again, do the fragmentation work again. So you can go back and watch any of those videos on shame, fragmentation, right? Triggers, all of those. If you're needing to do the deep work, and sit down and one by one go through them, come out the other side and feel healed again until the next deep trigger that comes up and shows you you're not quite healed and you need to do it again. And that's okay, because healing's a process, right? It's a process. One day, maybe this too won't have an emotional charge for me, right? Medication, doctors won't have a charge for me anymore. And I highly, right now, don't think that's ever going to happen, but I want it to happen. I want to get to a point where I don't have a charge, where there is no charge, where it's neutral for me. Right? That's the goal, is to get to neutrality, to get to the point where there's no charge, to let go enough that we see that the charge is gone, right? That's where we're getting to here. So I hope this video has been helpful. I know it's been long-winded. I know it's been kind of all over the place. But I hope you've gotten something out of it and gleaned something out of it, and do the work. It's okay. You're not broken. When you react, you didn't go back a million steps. You're human, right? And we're having human experiences, and we have healing left to do. That's all it's showing us. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing that we wake up and we become conscious that that's all it is. Because when we're not, then we just live in that perpetual state of worry or anger or frustration, sadness, whatever it is. But when we wake up and we see clearly, we become conscious that these are just patterns and emotions and feelings and triggers that need work. Then we can see it in a whole different light, and it becomes our job to help ourselves and love ourselves through this, as opposed to feeling helpless to the universe at large. So I'll see you in the next video.